Why is it extremely improbable that anyone will ever surpass Michael Jordan as the GOAT? Among many reasons is what he accomplished from 1991 to 1993. There are a few who have challenged him when it comes to the greatest single seasons, but how many were able to come back even better the next year, and then even better the following season? There is not a single player that have surpassed what he did for 3 straight years. The more deeply we look into those seasons, the more convinced we'll be that we'll never see anything better than prime Michael Jordan. Here's a simplistic overview of his major accomplishments during that stretch. 3 titles, 3 finals MVPs, 2 regular season MVPs, 3 scoring titles, and 3 All-NBA first team, as well as defensive first team selections. It simply doesn't get any better than that, and it can easily be proven. There have only been 3 players who can say that they've been the best player on a team that won at least 3 consecutive titles. The other 2 players are Bill Russell and Shaquille O'Neal. Keep in mind that the Finals MVP wasn't introduced until 1969. Russell doesn't officially have any Finals MVPs to his name, but I believe he would have strung 3 in a row when he won that crazy run of 8 straight titles. This gives an idea of how extremely difficult it is for a player to lead their team to a three-peat. For Jordan to be among 3 players that ever accomplished this is impressive enough. But that's just the beginning. Did you know that there have only been 4 players that ever win the scoring title and Finals MVP in the same season? Kareem first did it in 1971, Shaq did it in 2000, and Shea did it in 2025. Michael did it in 3 straight years. Other players need to conserve their energy to withstand the tough road of winning back-to-back titles. Jordan is the rare exception. He doesn't just sustain his level of play, he gets better. Out of the 3 seasons, 1993 is when he averaged the most points. Here's the crazy part. He only missed 6 games during those 3 years, and he was averaging nearly 40 minutes per game in 1993. In this era, players would be under a minutes restriction to preserve their energy. Michael didn't need those kind of handicaps. This is one of the biggest reasons why the Bulls were able to remain so dominant. Here's another record that he is mostly responsible for. There have only been 3 teams that ever win back-to-back titles while posting over 60 wins. The Showtime Lakers were the first ones to do it in 1987 and 1988. Michael Jordan and the Bulls did it in 1991 and 1992. Then he turned around and did it again from 1996 to 1998. This is what happens when your best player doesn't take his foot off the gas. He dominates you in the regular season and the playoffs. That is what we saw in 1991 and 1992. In their first title run, the Bulls won 61 games. Then in the playoffs, they won 15-2. That is tied for the 4th highest playoff win percentage for the shot clock era. In 1992, they had one of the greatest single seasons ever. They are tied with the 7th highest win total by a team that won the title. They won 67 games. On top of that, they finished in the top 11 in both margin of victory and simple rating system. On average, they beat their opponents by double digits. They are only one of 14 teams to have a margin of victory of over 10 points per game. By the way, only 3 of those teams were coming off a championship. That's the 1972 Bucks, the 1992 Bulls, and the 1997 Bulls. Is it any coincidence that the 2 players who are front and center in the GOAT conversation have been able to lead their teams to historically dominant seasons after reaching the mountaintop? For the vast majority of teams, they take a dip whenever they've reached the ultimate goal. It's human nature to play with less fire and intensity when you've won. That's why teams rarely duplicate the same kind of success. Michael Jordan refuses to get complacent. He is out to prove something every time he steps on the court. For someone who is looking to take his GOAT title, you have to be as intense a competitor as he was. It's much harder to dominate when every single opponent is giving you their best shot because you're the defending champions. Michael thrived under those conditions. There's no question that his mentality and competitiveness allowed the Bulls to have as much success as they did. There are very few who are wired the same way. But basketball universe, those are team accomplishments. Why are you giving Jordan so much credit? That's because he was playing at such a high level. He was insanely good during the regular season. Let's start with 1991. He averaged 31.5 points on nearly 54% shooting, 6 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 2.7 steals per game. That stat line is as unique as it gets. There is only one other player who has been that productive on both ends of the floor. Rick Barry is the only other player to average at least 30 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2.5 steals per game. He accomplished this in his legendary 1975 season. Now let's talk about his efficiency. There have only been 7 players to average at least 31 points while shooting over 53% from the field. Notice that Jordan is the only perimeter player on that list. Now let's move on to his advanced metrics. He earned 20.3 win shares. He posted a 10.8 value over replacement player rating, a 12 box plus minus, and a 31.6 PER. If you're not big on analytics, let me explain how legendary those numbers are. Here are the number of players who have posted over 20 win shares for a single season. It's only happened 15 times since the shot clock era, and only the best of the best have accomplished this. Now here are the players who have posted a value over replacement player rating of 10 or higher. Only 5 players have ever done it. If we add the two stats together, this is what we find. Only Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and David Robinson have earned over 20 win shares and have posted a value over replacement player rating of 10 or higher in the same season. Notice that Jordan's 1991 season is the only one of the 4 that reached the finals in the same year, let alone won the title. On top of that, he posted the 8th highest box plus minus and the 10th highest PER for a single season. Unsurprisingly, he is the only perimeter player in the top 10 for both categories. Those two stats are dominated by big men, but his productivity and efficiency were up there with players such as Kareem and Jokic. The numbers clearly indicate that he had one of the greatest regular seasons ever. What's crazy about that statement is that he played even better in the playoffs. He averaged 31.1 points on 52% shooting, 8.4 assists, 6.4 rebounds, and 2.4 steals per game. Did you know this is only the second time that a championship winning player averaged over 30 points and 8 assists per game for the playoffs? Only Nikola Jokic in 2023 averaged those numbers during his title run. This is easily among the most dominant all-around numbers that a player has averaged for the playoffs. What puts his playoff run to another level is what he did in the finals. Against Magic Johnson and the Lakers, he averaged a stat line that we've never seen on the biggest stage. He averaged 31.2 points on 56% shooting, 11.4 assists, 6.6 rebounds, and 2.8 steals per game. No one has ever averaged over 31 points and 11 assists in the finals. When you mix that with his team losing only 2 games, we can say that this is in the running for the greatest playoff run by a player. Then, when you mix that with what he did in the regular season, we can say that Michael Jordan had the greatest single season from start to finish. That's what the numbers and the eye test say. But then it came back in 1992 and he looked even better. Let's start with the stat line. He averaged 30.1 points on 52% shooting, 6.4 rebounds, 6.1 assists, and 2.3 steals per game. Once again, he made history. Before that year, only Kareem was able to lead a team to over 65 victories while averaging over 30 points. He destroyed the narrative that a volume scorer couldn't lead a team to a historically dominant season and win a title. Since then, only Shea was able to enter this elite company. But that's not all. There is only one other player who has been able to average at least 30 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals per game. That was James Harden in 2019. It was another legendary all-around season. We're not just saying that because of the number of steals he averaged. It would be foolish to say that James Harden was an elite defender because he averaged over 2 steals. If we look at the polls for the Defensive Player of the Year, Jordan finished 3rd behind Dennis Rodman and David Robinson. In other words, he was considered the best perimeter defender in the league along with Scottie Pippen. That's what makes this truly unfair. Even when you're statistically up to par with Michael, there's still a large gap. Jordan was equally great on offense and defense. Now that he knew how to win, he was an even more dangerous player. That was displayed in the 1992 playoffs, as his scoring numbers went up significantly. He averaged 34.5 points on 50% shooting, 6.2 rebounds, 5.8 assists, and 2 steals per game. Up to that point, that was the highest scoring average by any player who ended up winning the title. Unfortunately, this record wouldn't last long. He started off making even more history when he tormented the Miami Heat in the first round. He averaged 45 points per game on 61% shooting. That is the third highest mark for a series ever. But you know what the famous saying is? It's not how you start, but how you finish. In the finals, he averaged 35.8 points, 6.5 assists, 4.8 rebounds, and 1.7 steals per game. But what about his shooting numbers? Was he efficient? He averaged 53% from the field, 43% from the three, and 89% from the free throw. That is nearly a 50-40-90 split. He was ultra efficient while posting the 8th highest scoring average for the finals. Who else but MJ could perform at this level on the biggest stage? That's right, Michael, I just don't know. He wins back-to-back titles, MVPs, and Finals MVPs. Then he goes to Barcelona and helps Team USA win a gold medal. That's not much of an off season. He has played a ton of basketball in the past 2 seasons. For most players, you would be worried that their bodies would start breaking down as the year progressed. Michael showed no signs of slowing down. In fact, he was even more aggressive. His numbers increased in points, rebounds, and steals. He averaged 32 points on 49.5% shooting, 6.7 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and 2.8 steals per game. He led the league in points and steals per game. If we look at the polls for the Defensive Player of the Year, Jordan finished second behind Hakeem Olajuwon. For 3 straight regular seasons, he was the top scorer and one of the top defenders. But this was just an appetizer of what he was going to do in the playoffs. He beat his own record and produced the highest playoff scoring average by any player to win the title. He averaged 35.1 points on 48% shooting, 6.7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals per game. That record still stands today. But you know what the famous saying is, right? It's not how you start, but how you finish. In the finals, he averaged 41 points on 51% shooting, 8.5 rebounds, 6.3 assists, and 1.7 steals per game. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the highest scoring average in NBA Finals history. This is how he ended this remarkable 3-year period. He kept getting better and better, even after putting his body through so much. But let's take it a step further. Among those record-breaking averages, he also gave us so many iconic moments. He wasn't just a statistical anomaly. Trust me, no one ever complained that his style of play was boring or bad for the game. Instead, we were marveling at the things he could do. He would use the stage to present moves that we've never seen before. That's what makes his efficiency so impressive. The degree of difficulty of some of the shots he was taking was off the charts. And when you needed him to come through in the clutch, he delivered. Like when he made this game-tying shot in Game 3 of the 1991 Finals that forced overtime. Or when he made this buzzer-beating shot that ended the series against the Cavaliers in 1993. Or how about what he did to the Knicks in Game 7 of the 1992 semifinals? He had 42 points on 52% shooting, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and 2 steals. Then there are all the record-breaking performances, like when he scored 56 points on 67% shooting against the Miami Heat in their 1992 first-round series. That is tied for the 4th highest scoring mark in playoff history. Then there was the game when he scored 54 points on 60% shooting against the New York Knicks in their 1993 Conference Finals matchup. Let's not forget that they were the #1 defensive team in the league that season. Then, in the finals, he scored 55 points on 57% shooting in Game 4. That is tied for the 2nd highest scoring game in finals history. When it was all said and done, media heads and former players alike were conceding that he was the greatest player of all time. They couldn't help but respect what he accomplished in those 3 years. It was common knowledge that no one before him was playing at that level, and we certainly haven't seen anyone else come close since. Not even he could top what he did when he went on his second three-peat run. It was still historic, but not as dominant. He set the bar too high. For those who are good enough to enter the GOAT conversation, one all-time great season is not good enough. You have to do it again and again. Many have tried and they've all failed. It's a standard that's impossible to reach. Who do you think has come the closest? Will anyone ever top what he did in those 3 seasons? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.